Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fourth and final day of the IAA conference. So I could already see that you were thinking about the final day. So the IAA transportation itself takes a little longer. It will be an event until Sunday, but it's actually our final day of the conference. And the whole team is kind of sad right now because we had an exciting week. We had wonderful guest speakers, wonderful topics, and it was never boring. So, and yesterday when I came to our stage, I said it's Groundhog Day, and it's somehow actually the same today, because every morning we have the IAA Transportation Morning Talks with McKinsey, but you know, every day, although we have the morning talk every day, it's not the same. So we have always different exciting topics. Today is no exception. The topic of the morning will be autonomous trucks, a game changer in long-haul transportation. And, well, I know that you want to discover in how far this technology could truly be a game changer, right? Yes. I could read... At least one person is saying, yes, of course. So let's find out more and welcome our first two guests of the day. Sunny Choi, Vice President of Global Business Development at Plus, and Henrik Becker, expert coming from McKinsey and Company. Please give a big hand to our two guests.
Good morning, everyone. And Sunny, thank you for joining us on this IAA morning talk.
Thank you very much for having me.
Wonderful. Sunny, we've been hearing announcements of autonomous trucks for quite some time now. When has the time come? What are the obstacles that are still in the way?
That is the multi-billion question that we get all the time. What I can say is that all the companies across the industry are tremendously working on making this reality and commercializing the technology. So what we see based on the conversations we have across different industry stakeholders is that we definitely see it's realistic for it to commercialize within this decade. Probably not next year just yet, but it's really getting closer. I think all companies are working on the technology maturity, on making sure the technology is really safe, but overall also to really define what is the commercialization strategy, how to make it a product that customers are willing to buy, and that it really creates a value to the transportation ecosystem in the end.
Wonderful. And what are the use cases of trucks that you see going for autonomous driving first?
I think there are multiple use cases you can think of. I think in terms of the benefit that everyone's looking at is, of course, addressing the rising global shortage in the industry. So for sure, complementing today's manual driving with the virtual driver, so it basically complements the shortage, but also a lot of the TCO aspects that is a big point. In terms of use case, I think one use case that I particularly think it will bring big benefit is the long-haul hub-to-hub trucking. Why is that? It's because long-haul trucking or long driving paths, it's a very hard, stressful job for drivers. Sometimes they have to drive until late in the night. They have to drive hours. They don't make it back home to their family. Staying away from family a long time is hard. So I think by bringing in autonomy can really address the aspect of bringing better distances for manual drivers to drive, such as shorter distances, and on the long-haul trucking where you have very straightforward ODDs, operating design domains, to basically automate this with a virtual driver, bringing the load from one hub to the next, which is a sort of defined route that can be repeated over and over, and also then optimizing the route development on these specific routes is a use case that we think is a very commercially viable, but also technically feasible use case.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing also is that there will be different kind of use cases going forward, or existing use cases will be modified for autonomous trucks. Can you share a bit more? Kind of what's your expectation? What will be kind of how will the trucking industry look like, or truck use cases in the future?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think with the rise of autonomy, the value chain and the way of how goods will be transported will change in the sense that you will need to have ecosystems where the autonomous trucks will be integrated into the logistics systems. That's one. Then you need to think about how do you plan for the transportation routes or the needs, how to match the supply of autonomous transportation services with the actual demand for transportation. This is, I think, one aspect that will change, where you will automate much more, where you will also need much more integration of the vehicles with autonomy software, with the logistics systems, as well as fleet management. And the second is, of course, also to see how do you integrate the different use cases from long-haul trucking. You still have a big middle-mile portion. How do you make sure that the good actually makes it to the final destination, meaning the last mile? So really defining an overall user journey that connects the goods from A to B is going to be how I see the ecosystem change. Second point is also the role of OEMs and fleet logistics providers is how will they collaborate, what will be the dynamics of the relationship, right? So I think looking forward, also OEMs are looking more into what role could they play in the logistics ecosystem. So what will be the business model? Will they just provide vehicles and sell it per unit, like this has been more the traditional way of selling trucks? Or will you actually think more about long-term service models where you start generating recurring revenue streams and basically participate in the growth of the autonomy market?
Yeah. So basically a shift in every dimension. What will drive the uptake in the end? Is it only cost, or do you expect other factors to play a role there? What will be the ignition point?
Yeah, I think cost for sure is a big aspect that a lot of the customers and partners ask, right? It has to be viable. But more than the cost, I think, is also the topic of productivity. So it's about how do you optimize the utilization of the trucks? How can you thereby increase the productivity of bringing more goods within the same amount of time from A to B? And also the aspect of how, I think that's actually one of the most important one, while you have optimized costs, increased productivity, making sure that whatever solution will be deployed will be safe, and that you keep all road participants safe, having autonomous trucks on the road. So I think those three aspects will matter a lot. And then from a customer perspective, of course, it's going to be very important that they feel it's seamless. It's not additional effort needing to plan autonomous trucks in context of their logistics flow. And that comes back again to the integration of the systems into the existing logistic systems.
Yeah. And so what we're hearing a lot when talking about electric trucks is that there is a CapEx challenge, there is new infrastructure being built. How do you see this in the world of autonomous trucks?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think also for autonomy, the infrastructure will play a critical role. I mean, we talked about hub-to-hub automation, so building those hubs that are autonomous ready. Defining also what a hub in the future would look like so that you can basically autonomously park, receive the truck, and also secure safe and efficient departures. That's going to be a very important part of the industry to solve between OEMs, but also the logistic providers. And when we think about battery electric trucks, I think combining hubs also with according charging or fueling stations, if we talk about fuel cell electric trucks, is going to be the key, especially if we talk about long haul, where you have long stretches, to make sure that the trucks are having the opportunity to charge when needed, to have also intelligent prediction systems to know when and where to charge. And I think thirdly, what we should not forget is also the after-sales network. If, for example, a truck has an issue or something needs to be repaired, you won't have a driver in the truck anymore. So having that infrastructure built up is going to be very, very critical from my perspective.
Thank you. Let's hope financiers hear this. When looking kind of at the globe, I guess we will see differences in deployment, in speeds, and also in kind of the way autonomous trucks will be deployed. Can you help us shed a bit of light? Kind of what will be different between the US, between Europe, China, and maybe other markets?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Of course, every market has their region-specific needs, and everyone also has their own pace of how they can drive and actually also deploy innovation. When I think about autonomous trucking deployment, I do see that the US is really putting a lot of effort, investments, and also fleet customers and OEMs working already on-road autonomous trucking deployments. So I think in terms of a development and also customer, let's say, openness to test and work on these solutions together is quite far along. I think what's missing there is that you don't really have a nationwide regulatory framework that really helps to define, okay, when can you commercialize how? And I think the challenge there is also that you have basically by state laws how you can put these trucks on the road, and every state has their own regulatory framework. So that's, I think, the challenge on that one hand. But in terms of go-to-market, I do see that the US will probably launch very, very soon. In Europe, I also see a lot of efforts going into level 4 development, but also when you look at this IAA, we haven't seen that much technology around autonomy, right? And it doesn't mean that Europe is not ready or is not working on it, but I think it's just at a different stage. Here, also just being here at the IAA for this whole week, I see the topic of electrification and alternative powertrains plays a huge, huge role. At the same time, autonomy is in development, so we are also in very deep collaboration, as you know, with European-based trucking partners. But I think in terms of a roadmap, Europe will come after US.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Do you have any sense on other markets that will autonomous trucks play a role also in China, Japan, global markets, or would you also see them kind of following the US market?
For sure. I think China, and I've lived actually in China for work a few years, so I was able to witness how fast innovation is being developed but also deployed. I think when you look at US, Europe, and China, and the way how people innovate and deploy things, it also comes not down just to technology, but also to cultural aspects. How much are you willing to take risks? How much are you willing to just try, fail, and then repeat and basically improve? And so I think there, I would say Europe is a little bit more on the conservative side, right? And has benefits and also disadvantages. But I think in China, speed of innovation is fast, high willingness to try things. Definitely when it comes to software, highly innovative, very fast, and I think also quite advanced, both when we look into robotaxis, but also trucks. So also, I think when I think in terms of use cases, there will be very, very beneficial use cases given the large country, long distances of transportation. So I think China will be also on a good path in terms of timing.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Maybe a final question coming from my son. In 50 years from now, will there still be truck drivers?
I certainly believe there will be. So I think it's going to be a complementary approach between technology and human labor. And I believe human manual driving and human labor work always goes hand in hand with very advanced AI technology. I do believe that autonomy will take up a big portion of future driving tasks, but I'm also convinced that you will still need manual drivers for certain tasks, right? Especially when the situations are very complex, right? So I think we will still have drivers in 50 years from now, but you will see a very, very high number of deployed autonomous trucks as well that will enable today's drivers to spend more time and focus on really fun driving parts where they also are able to balance this out with personal life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sunny, for these insights. And good luck on your ventures on autonomous trucking.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sunny. Thank you, Henrik. Wonderful start into the day. Couldn't be better. And finally, I could untie the knot in my tongue. I mean, it's 5 days in a row that I'm here on stage. Well, that was really excellent. And just one information today, it's the Innovative Ventures Day at IAA Transportation, and we will have a couple of startups and company portraits on stage. The next one, as far as our schedule is concerned, will be at 10 a.m., so feel free to relax for the moment, lean back, enjoy this maybe final day for you as well, and we'll be back in a minute. Thank you.
Thank you.